Good blessings, my brothers and sisters in this truth. All praises to the Most High through our Savior's name. Let's get our sword out the mud. Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters.
When it comes to black and gay today, it's not hard to find representation in so many places.
I can move right in. This should be my new apartment.
One place is here. Chicago's North Halsted Street, where among the shops, clubs, and rainbow-paved crosswalks, you'll find the faces of those who paved the way.
People got marginalized and excluded and silenced in both movements because they were either black in the gay movement or gay in the black movement. And that's a really important story to tell, I think.
And there are many stories, like here, where a bronze plaque honoring the first American woman in space shares the same space with one of the founders of the civil rights movements.
Bayard Rustin helped make the civil rights movement of the 40s, 50s, and 60s as visible and successful as it was.
John D'Amelio literally wrote the book on Bayard Rustin.
I want no human being to die or to be brutalized.
A Quaker, student of Gandhi, who used nonviolent protest to bring cultural change.
He was Martin Luther King's mentor, and he imbued within King the idea that violence will only beget violence. If you're going to try and change hearts and minds, you have to do it through nonviolence.
Rustin organized the 1963 March on Washington.
This was before we had Xeroxing, before we had the internet, before we had texting. And in 7 weeks' time, he managed to create a March on Washington. And that brought 250,000 people peacefully to the nation's capital.
We march today for jobs and freedom. But we have nothing to be proud of. But hundreds and thousands of our brothers are not here.
The late Congressman John Lewis was just a young man then.
I got in trouble. Good trouble.
And if Lewis was the father of good trouble, Rustin, many would argue, was the grandfather.
Without Bayard Rustin as the organizer, the March on Washington would have been like a bird without wings.
And like so many honored along this stretch of North Halsted in what's known as the Legacy Walk, Rustin lived in open secret.
He was a gay man. He was a black gay man, and that information was not discussed at that time.
Chicago-based consultant Mary Morton says that's the story, the history of many black LGBTQ Americans.
Lorraine Hansberry, who identified as bisexual and spent a lot of time, of course, in Chicago. Her seminal play, A Raisin in the Sun, set on the southwest side of Chicago, was certainly something that meant a lot to me growing up on the far south side.
There's no area within the African American life and culture in this country in which LGBT folks who are black have not been central.
Filmmaker Thomas Allen Harris,
when you look at these images, what do these photographs mean to you?
Whose work includes the series Family Pictures USA, tells the untold stories we all have. Some are just hidden.
Family Pictures USA action.
The LGBT contributions like Audre Lorde or James Baldwin, if we do include them, then we might kind of like whitewash their sexuality, and I think that does a disservice to this new generation that's looking for role models.
And when the people raised their voices, we didn't hear, but our deafness was only a temporary condition.
One of those role models, former Texas Congresswoman Barbara Jordan.
She became a central figure in the Watergate era.
A president is impeachable if he attempts to subvert the Constitution.
and she delivered sort of a stunning rebuke to Nixon on live television that is considered by many people to have been the last nail in the coffin of Nixon's presidency.
We must define the common good.
She was a phenomenal person, smart and erudite, really incredibly articulate.
Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was just a girl when Jordan was in office.
People certainly knew, who her partner was to her, but to never be able to say, this is our life, and to really live it proudly and out, that does damage. There's no question whatsoever, and I feel sad for her, but I also know that what she did, he really broke through a lot of barriers and blazed a trail for people like me.
And in today's world, still with protests, the themes of equity remain the same, though the faces are different and more inclusive.
Well, when I'm looking back, I didn't hear much about LGBTQ history at all.
Jay Rice is part of a younger generation who believes the intersectionality of being Black and being LGBTQ are just now coming to terms.
We have finally reached a point in society where not only our Black counterparts, but all of our American counterparts and around the world have realized that queer Black people have been here forever, and we've contributed to society forever. And it's a sense of exhale to finally get a little piece of recognition.
Recognition that's now much more mainstream.
You have Billy Porter, right, who is everywhere. And for a show like Pose, you have Laverne Cox, Janet Mock. It's really important for young people in particular to see possibility models.
Something Bayard Rustin could only dream of 60 years ago.
So here's a man that organizes the March on Washington from beginning to end, and he walks away, and he doesn't have any job offers, right? He doesn't have any place to go because he's still a marked man as a gay man.
America honors Bayard Rustin as one of its greatest architects for social change and a fearless advocate for its most vulnerable citizens.
In 2013, 26 years after Bayard Rustin's death, his partner at the White House accepted the Presidential Medal of Freedom on his behalf. One of the first in the civil rights movement, becoming one of the last to get recognition for it.
I'm very glad that Rustin is receiving more recognition and more people are learning about his life and what his life can teach us.
This is a really interesting time. I think it's a time that we have to continue to highlight these stories.
They are stories dating back more than a century, from the Harlem Renaissance to today, of musicians and educators, artists and authors, all contributing to the American story and are now having all the chapters told.
It really shows us the complexity of who we are as African Americans, and that we are a village and we are very diverse, and forever LGBT folks have been really leaders within their communities.
Like so many things in history, there's always more figures and more topics to explore. The Legacy Project is a good place to start. We've set up some links to them as well as many other resources on our website, WGNTV.com. Sean Lewis, WGN News.
Brothers and sisters, y'all stay prayerful. Keep your lamps filled with light.